Do that, and I think we're live. I think you managed to do another. I'm sure it'll be fine. We're reading. Audio is showing. How are you, my man?
Not too bad, it's another week gone by. Time goes by very quickly in a
It does.
pandemic. You don't. Some days you have to remind yourself what day it is.
Yes. Well, thankfully, we have something like this to. I don't know what the phrase, to populate our week from time to time. Occasionally, just go, hey, you wanna do a show? You wanna do a show? You wanna do a show? And we just have a little bit of a chit chat. Hopefully, people enjoy listening to us. Hopefully.
How's your lockdown going? Is it harder this time, or is it easier, or are you used to it by now?
I'd honestly say I think this has probably been the easiest one. Based on experience. I think this is like the third national lockdown that we've been in. This one's been alright. It's been you just get used to it, and then after, I mean, like as I said, I'm very fortunate. I've just started my PhD, so and I'm in my first year, so it's not that intense in terms of like needing to communicate with the uni and all that stuff. So they just kind of leave me as I am for this year. So it's come at like a really lucky time. I appreciate that I'm a very lucky person, because I know that this is extremely difficult for a lot of people. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why we do this, is because it's an outlet for us, and it's hopefully an outlet for other people to just be like, God, those guys are talking complete shit. I'm going to forget about everything, and I'm going to reply to them in the chat and say, you guys are wrong. What about you? How's it been for you now?
Yeah, I don't mind it too much, because I have loads of time to do stuff that I want to do, which is watch Netflix and work out and eat. So those are my
that's a pretty good life
things to do. So that's what I enjoy doing. So I got loads of time for those. But yeah, it can get annoying, because I used to love going to the cinema the whole time. But of course, that's kind of gone now. But with college, it's all online on Zoom, which I find very boring, and it's no fun whatsoever. It's not the same. And then I kind of find myself leaving the work off last minute, because something drops on Twitter I have to reply to, or something I have to make a video, or I prefer, I have more fun doing this, or doing what I do with Real Anarchy, or doing stuff on my own channel, than I do doing my college work, because I feel like nobody's over my shoulder watching me. But if I don't post hashtag release the haircut, or Zack Snyder's Justice League, people are like, where the fuck are you, man? Why aren't you posting stuff?
we need the guy to drop the hashtag. We don't know what to end our tweets with. We need a hashtag. We need Sean to be on Twitter 24/7 so that he can set the new trend. But
because you get there's like trending events going on nearly every day now.
Yeah.
Make the Deathstroke movie, or make the Batfleck movie, and there's so many going on. I don't see them all the whole time. Like I don't constantly be on the Twitter timeline. Like I spend actually loads of time in DMs and just looking at my own notifications and looking at.
Oh, here we go, Mr. Celebrity, Mr. Twitter Celebrity. Oh, I've got so many notifications. No,
I mean, because I have all the news outlets, like, so when they post something, I get a notification straight away. So
Yep.
that's what I usually just look through, is all the like celebrity notifications and stuff like that. So I don't be on the timeline as much as I probably should, but because it's very time consuming, so it's just hard to be on everything.
It is. It is. I do have another question for you, Baskin, in a second, just to say hi to people in the chat. Ascended Ancient, Barcelona, Krypton Cage. Lovely to have you guys here. Is that a heater next to me? It is, and you've just reminded me that I haven't turned it on. This is the downside to being in the UK. It's fucking freezing. And what am I studying? I'm studying politics. I'm studying my PhD in politics. So the second thing I wanted to ask you is you were talking about like the nice stuff about lockdown life, like doing these shows. There may be some people in the chat, although I doubt it, who don't know that you also do a fucking boatload of other content. You've got a show on the Real Emotion channel, right? With Casey in the chat. You wanna what happens there? When's that happen? For the people who don't know, shameless plug. He paid me a lot of money to do that segue.
Unfortunately, I was paired up with Krypton Cage.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm with that guy every Saturday night. It's Saturday, but like, so what time is it? Yeah, so last night, like, it's like 2 a.m. UK time, Ireland time.
Oh, so you're catering for him. You have to do it all around his time zone, not you.
I forget what time it is for him. I think it's early enough for him, but yeah, it's just kind of what suits the demographic that watches the videos, which we don't mind. Fair, but yeah, that's every...
Imagine that he's there with like a nice cup of coffee, having the time of his life. He's just had a shower, nice, and you're just there like clinging on. Please, could you just hurry up?
Yeah, because I'm there like, I'm so tired right now, but I have to keep going. But it's that happens on the Real Anarchy channel.
Real Anarchy, yes.
So we just talk about everything, movies, and we talk about them in greater detail. And Casey is brilliant because he does all the effects and he has videos coming up and images. Very much like you here. I don't have a clue about any of this stuff whatsoever.
I taught him everything I know, so like I passed down a lot to him.
If it wasn't for you or KC, I wouldn't have anything to go on, only my own stupid channels. But no, but it's good fun, and I like. We do different things here. We do different things on the Real Anarchy. I do different things on my channel, so it's a good spread, and I just enjoy doing it. So that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah, well, I mean that's nice. You get to talk about all the newest movie gossip and TV show gossip, and I think I guess the newest kind of big thing that I saw recently was HBO Max dropping that nice little teaser about their lineup for the year to get you excited. But one thing that was missing was obviously Zack Snyder's Justice League. Pretty much because of the assumption that it is just being on stream, that or they haven't finalized any theatrical release. And we also know that it's 4 hours. Definitely, it's a movie. It's a one shot. It's not a TV series. So IMDb needs to update their shit because it still says 4 episodes. What do you think about that? Are you happy that it's a 4-hour movie, the longest comic book movie in existence, one of the longest movies of all time? You happy about that?
I love a long movie. Like, I don't mind. I'll sit down and watch it for 4 hours. Like, especially if it's characters that I really, really love. But yeah, it's gonna be 4 hours. Like, Naveen, I'm friends with him on Twitter and stuff. He asked Zack Snyder today. I was like, so is it 4 hours with credits or without credits? So it's without. So 4 hours of content. That's pretty
goddamn
awesome. Like, imagine if this is like. There's going to be so much rewatch value in it as well, because I'm sure, just like Batman v Superman, there's so many hidden meanings in Man of Steel, and go back, oh, that means this Easter egg and stuff. That's cool. And the thing about the theatrical thing, that trailer was kind of for movies that were always getting that theatrical release that were moved. You know what I mean? But Zack Snyder's Justice League was always supposed to be an HBO Max original, so that makes sense why it wasn't in that trailer.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it'll get a big theatrical release because, like, there's not many places open. You know, it's going to be hard. Like, maybe by March or April it'll be opened up a little bit. I don't even see that happening because cases are rocket high every single day here and in England. So I just think it's going to be kind of PVOD streaming in the US. That's the best option, but that's okay. I'm sure it'll do fine. Wonder Woman was a big hit on PVOD, and this film represents Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, so why shouldn't it be talked about anyway?
Yeah, exactly. I know we did get a glimpse at a lot of other stuff. We finally got a little bit more of Godzilla vs Kong, like the teeniest amount. Godzilla just getting his world rocked by Kong with that rights punch. But like, I mean, it's just you see a little bit more, and you're like, oh, I want a bit more. And now we know that it's meant to be coming out mid to late March, like an official release date, which is like, okay, where's the trailer? You know, you think back to like
Yeah,
Godzilla and Godzilla King of the Monsters, whatever. You had trailers like 6 months to 8 months or whatever, year before that film came out, or they came out. Like, this is coming out in like 2 months. Like, we need
yeah,
some hype, you know? This is gonna bring all of your attention to HBO Max. It's Godzilla v Kong, you know? Come on.
yeah. I don't know if it's because the strategy is always different for streaming movies. You usually
Hmm.
drop a trailer 3 weeks out, and you don't really have to market it that much because people have the app. They're going to sit down and watch it.
Yeah.
Netflix do that, but the thing is, if it was a theatrical movie, you'd be pretty worried right now because there's no
Oh
trailer
god,
for
yeah,
this
you'd
movie.
be
This
shitting
this
bricks.
massive, yeah, yeah. The studio must have no absolute confidence in this movie whatsoever if they're not even released a trailer or even proper kind of still images of it.
Yeah.
But now that it's going to be in streaming and theatrical, it probably makes a little bit more sense to market it a month. They've got 2 months now really to just market the shit out of it. So
Yeah.
I think it'll be fine. It's not a big problem right now.
Yeah, because then that, like, getting people in the door, it's not a case of saying, like, oh, what, this film comes out in, like, a month? Oh, okay, I now need to start, like, planning. When am I going to sort out a
Yeah,
cinema date or something like that? It's just, oh, well, I've got HBO Max, so, oh, that comes out in a month. Cool, I'll make a note of that. Or, oh, I make sure I get HBO Max for when that comes out. So, yeah, the entry to getting into watching these films is a hell of a lot lower. But it's just,
yeah,
it's always one of those things when you have so many years of watching theatrical films and theatrical releases that you're thinking like, well, what is going on? Like, why? What are you guys waiting for? Like, give us something big, give us, or at least like a little
yeah.
teaser and say, yeah, we've got a big one coming back. They know what they're doing. They're the ones running like a multi-quadrillion-dollar streaming service. I'm just sat here having a chat. Like,
Yeah,
these guys know what they're doing. I'm
the,
sure they're fine.
yeah. But the trailers that they've released so far have been pretty cool. I know there's like
Yeah.
been a montage of all the other movies, but it kind of gets you hyped and gets you like, wow, that's a lot of cool stuff that's coming. It even makes Tom and Jerry look cool. So it,
I mean, it's a
it
good strategy to
might
just
be,
like advertise your films by advertising them all at the same time because you're
yeah,
not saying like, oh, it's just this Godzilla v Kong. You know, you really want to watch that. Well, we've got that. It's a case of saying, well, we've got that, and like 30 other like blockbusters that you're gonna really want to watch
yeah,
on a streaming service. So, I mean, I can appreciate the different strategy, but it's just there's that
yeah.
kind of like that need. I just want Godzilla versus Kong content like now.
I thought it was like a pretty cool strategy for Netflix because they just got to see HBO Max kind of do their trailer with all their movies that's coming. Then you had Netflix do a similar thing where they had, oh, we've got The Rock, Gal Gadot, Ryan Reynolds, we've got
Yeah.
Zack Snyder's Justice League. They did a big mega trailer as well, and those films look all pretty. Leonardo, and when you could end a trailer for your streaming service with Leonardo DiCaprio, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I think I don't really think that they're altogether too scared.
Yeah,
But this is what we like: competition, and we win when there is competition.
better for us.
Albeit
Yes,
our
exactly.
wallets lose very very badly. But in terms of other streaming services going on, of course, we have one of the biggest new kids on the block. Well, not really new kid; they've been around for like a year. Disney Plus. And in case you
Yeah,
haven't seen it, that's my segue into WandaVision, the first kind of big, I don't know, first major foray um, into the next phase of Marvel. Um, and we got kicked off. They released 2 episodes of the first season, or only season, I don't know. Yesterday, no, not yesterday, Friday, so 2 days ago. And they're about like 25 minutes long each, roughly. Albeit the first one had like 4 hours of credits at the end. I was watching the end of
yeah,
the film, and it got to the end, and I just kind of tapped on the screen to see if I was like, "Is this the end?" I didn't know if it was like they were like fucking with you or anything. And I'm like, "There's like 15 minutes left. What is going on?" And I'm just like skipping
yeah,
forward, like, credits.
yeah.
Like, Jesus.
I thought there was like going to be another scene, or you have to watch the credits because there's
Yeah.
extra Easter eggs in it. But it was just kind of cool music and cool graphics.
Yeah. I thought it was gonna be like, okay, well, it's like it like zooms out, and then we're kind of like, oh, what's going on? It's a TV show in a show, and then it comes out, and like, and then I'm watching the credits, like, is this gonna be another episode? Are we like gonna keep just like panning out of a TV show of a TV show of a TV show, just constantly going? I was like, no, it's just them giving the credits for like everybody on the planet at this rate. There's so many people involved in this TV show.
Yeah, at least they credit them all. At least they just don't end the show. At least all the
Very
people are
true, very
getting
true. Yeah,
their
Mike,
names up
my
there. So
yeah.
that's fair as well. Like it'd be kind of dodgy if they didn't have
Yeah, I
them
was
if they
gonna
wanted
say
to
the
work on it. Fair.
inconvenience that I experienced of having to wait like an extra 20 seconds before episode 2 is, I think that's fine. We'll put it to one side. But what did you make of the first 2 episodes?
yeah, look, I was excited for the show because it looked different. The trailers were all pretty cool. But yeah, they went full sitcom, didn't they? They didn't
They
hold back
did.
whatsoever. It's not like half of a sitcom and then it got to the usual MCU stuff. Kind of a full 25, 30-minute episode that was a sitcom. And yeah, I think it's ballsy, it's different, and it kind of worked. And it's like these first two episodes didn't really give us anything to say, oh wow, look at that, or
Yeah.
this means that. It was loads of setups, so loads of Easter eggs and loads of hints and loads of speculation, and everyone has a different theory about what's actually going on in the show. And I thought it was performed really well. Like people are going to watch it now because it's Marvel. They don't have to start off with a massive pilot where there's big action or
Yeah.
a massive cliffhanger. People are always going to come back anyway. So yeah, I enjoyed the first two episodes. The way the aspect ratio was, the 4:3, maybe concentrate more on the characters and to look out for Easter eggs as well, because it just seemed like everything that's in a 4:3 frame ratio is important.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to keep an eye on it. So I did. Did you get any joy out of this first two episodes or?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was decent. I mean, I think it's really hard to like form a proper judgment based on what we got. As you say, there was a lot of setup and a lot of like, hey, this is, giving you some kind of contextual information, and you can kind of embrace the genre and the time that they're trying to mimic. And yeah, I think as you say, it's definitely a much more concentrated focus on. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. I've just been handed a glass of wine.
Oh,
We're drinking now.
wow.
This is
Wow.
this is a type of hospitality that you get on the show. All right,
Well,
lovely glass of red.
Dave the film junkie has the vodka stream. We have the wine stream.
Yes, we do. Well, over in the United Kingdom, we have to be very posh about the whole thing. We have to drink our wine with our pinky fingers up or whatever. But yes,
Just me. Let's go completely typecast. I'll just get a Guinness and just
yeah,
start drinking
exactly. Yeah, so there's a lot of setup and there's a lot of I don't know. It didn't feel like there's a lot to sink my teeth into. I was kind of like waiting for the ball to start rolling, but obviously the kind of advantage that they have with dropping 2 episodes is that they can kind of play the whole thing fast and loose and hopefully just give you enough to work with that you're sufficiently interested. And as you say, it's Marvel. People are gonna come back for the next episode, but I get the feeling that things are just gonna get weirder and darker as the season goes on, and I think we'll probably get a really good understanding of that in the next episode. That's just a guess, but yeah. I very much enjoyed it. Definitely, I think, as you say, I think the performances were easily the best part. Like Wanda and Vision, kind of just really selling themselves as believable to the genre that they were in, like acting quite comical and a bit exaggerative and over the top, and the whole time everyone else, even just like people who have one line or whatever, doing a really good job of making the whole thing just seem like something's not quite right. It's not like, oh, this is just a whole episode dedicated to like parodying this genre or whatever. The whole time you're watching it, just like something is just off. And obviously you get like the more explicit things, like when they're listening to the radio and the stuff at the end of episode 1 or 2 when it like zooms out or whatever, and it's like, and then like the helicopter, but we'll get onto all this in a second. There are like very obvious things that show you things aren't right, but I just think the way that people act and the way that, just things are done, everything just seems a little bit creepy. And that's probably my favorite bit of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, and I suppose we'll get into the first 2 episodes one by one, but we should probably talk about the performances so far. As you said, the actors do a pretty good job of kind of conveying that they're in this sitcom era. Like Paul Bettany looks like he's having a great time.
Yeah.
He looks like, well, my character's dead in the MCU. I'm just going to come into this and have good time. That's what he looks like. He's really embracing that. And
he's like, holy shit, I didn't think I'd be
comedy.
getting paid anymore for this. And all of a sudden they want me to have a whole series. Like, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah. So he's just like off his leash and he's just doing what he kind of wants. And his comedy timing is pretty good. I also think Elizabeth Olsen is doing awesome as well. And she just seems really into it. And the line delivery is very sitcom-esque and it's perfect, and then we have Catherine Hahn, of course, who's kind of the nosy neighbor, and she seems to be a bit dodgy as well. She could be a greater threat as the episodes go on. A lot of rumors that she might be a comic book character, but I think she's perfect for this kind of role because she's been in comedies with Will Ferrell and Ben Stiller throughout the years and stuff like that. So her comedy timing is brilliant. She's learned from the best, and she has her own style as well. So she suits this sitcom element. And it seems like every piece of dialogue from her is kind of something. It means something else.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the way she says it, and the like, even like dropping the pot, or the way she talks about her husband. It all kind of sounds like it's talking about something else, but just not talking about it directly.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. And yeah, like I think it's going to go through each decade. Like this one was kind of like 50s, 60s. Then we're going to go to 70s, 80s. We're going to go through all the sitcoms. You can see definitely a lot of. I kind of researched a bit. There's a lot of like tributes towards Bewitched, towards the Dick Van Dyke Show, towards the. I think we're going to get some references towards the Brady Bunch as well in a coming episode. So it's cool they're being faithful as well, and I think it's going to attract people who maybe are a little bit older, who like those sitcom shows. They might sit down and watch this. Oh, cool. And then, of course, the people who are already Marvel fans will watch it. But I don't think people who aren't Marvel fans, who have no interest in sitcoms, won't really watch this show. I don't think they'll find much interest because there's nothing really there to catch you, as you said. But if you're a Marvel fan, you'll watch it for Marvel. And if you're kind of a sitcom fan, you'll be interested because it kind of reminds you of something that you once used to love or watch growing up. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I get the feeling that this is be, especially the point that you're saying about the neighbor and the dialogue specifically, when it gets to like the season's done or whatever, and people come to it for the first time and you just binge it, they'll be, it'd be like, oh, I remember when I watched the episode like 2 days ago that's what that character said, and there'll be a lot more kind of like, oh, like okay. Now at the moment we're obviously just kind of like, there are plenty of things that seem off, and there's a lot of setup, and I just think all the payoff will happen simultaneously or whatever. But it's very interesting to say the least. And it is going deep into that whole Marvel kind of getting a bit weird with it, getting a bit creative, and getting a bit more out of the box, which I definitely appreciate. I think, as I said, like probably the thing I love the most about what we've seen is the tone of the whole thing, and just the fact that you're varying through the genres, and we're journeying, through time and these various decades, and it'd be very nice to see how that evolves. But it's just like, keep getting creepy. This is what I like.
Yeah, I like it. I do like the tone they're setting, definitely, because as you said, there is something off with this show, what's going on, and against that, I suppose. So the first episode, really, like the plot for the first two episodes are pretty simple. They're not major. Like the first one, this is what it says in IMDb, but we can talk about it as well. Like Wanda and Vision struggle to conceal their powers during dinner with Vision's boss and his wife. That's basically what the first episode is about. It's like they see a date on the calendar, a heart, and the two of them kind of don't know what it is. And it's kind of a nice comedic moment between the two of them, because they're like, oh, you know what the date is? And, yeah, I do. Do you know what it is? Like, because neither of them knew. But it was... as the episode goes on, Vision realizes that it's actually a double date with his boss, or a dinner with his boss, and Wanda thinks it's kind of an anniversary, so she tries to be romantic, wears a dress and chocolate strawberries, and that's basically what it is. But it starts off the episode with the two of them after getting married. They think they come into the house, and Vision is able to go through the door, but then Wanda falls. So they use kind of a lot of comedic moments. But did it catch you off guard straight away that it went full sitcom without any setup?
Well, a bit, yeah. Like, I kind of expected it to be I wasn't expecting like full sitcom, but I was expecting like a comedic, old-timey style show. Like, as soon as you hear like the canned laughter and whatnot, and all that, which I'm fairly sure came about through the actual audience that they've had for filming this. Like they probably got somebody there saying with a sign that says laugh and gasp or whatever. But that was nice to think about, and how this was done in front of a whole audience. But yeah, that bit caught me off guard. I was like, oh, okay, it's nice. It's nice. Again, it's something completely different. So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, but I also like just kind of when she's moving the pots and stuff like that. It looks fake. But that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, there's a couple of like the jump cuts that they do for like Wanda doing something, like when she makes rings appear or whatever. It's like not even. It kind of feels like a student film was doing like a cool jump cut to make something happen. It's like they'll be standing there like this, and then the cut moves, and they've already moved a teeny bit from where they've had to like stay in position. But that feels intentional. That feels like it's meant to be this kind of thing that you might be wowed by back then when you were first watching, a TV for the first time or whatever, and stuff now that we're like, okay, that's a bit corny, but it works.
Yeah, it's a big homage to all those sitcoms, which is good. And they can't really. I think we're going to get a lot of the sitcom elements for a good few of the episodes. I think it's going to be most of the season because they put a lot of marketing into. Oh wow, this is kind of a sitcom. This is what it is, and into the trailers and stuff. So I think we're going to get that for the next few episodes at least before we get into the more of the nitty gritty stuff of action. And
I was going to say it's probably something nice to contrast with like the creepiness of whatever's going on behind the scenes, to have this kind of facade of comedy and banter and just happy times, and then the whole time weird shit is going on behind the scenes. I think that kind of works. If it was like a really serious, if it was like WandaVision is parodying very serious shows or whatever, it doesn't quite work, that contrast. But I mean, we're only 2 episodes in, so who knows what they're gonna do.
Yeah, and it looked like we don't know exactly what's going on yet, but like Wanda and Vision, they can't remember when they first met. They can't remember when they got married. They can't remember where they came from. They can't remember why they're here. So that's pretty interesting as well. But did you, like, when Vision was in his workplace, and we don't really know where he works or what it is, like, do you think that has a deeper meaning? Do you think Vision could end up coming back? It's because Paul Bettany did hint that his body would be reappearing in some time. We would see it again. Do you think someone is trying to get information from Vision or revive Vision or just something like that?
I mean, the only idea that came into my head at the time was that the whole, and this is kind of more of a macro theory for the entire show, that this is all something conjured up by Wanda, or somebody is making her conjure this up. And the main impression I was getting from that scene when he's at work was the fact that nobody knew what it is that nobody could explain what it is they actually do. They could only come up with a very like general, high level explanation of what they do. Something very generic, like, oh, we measure our inputs and our outputs and whatnot. That made me think that maybe Wanda was trying to conjure up what she thought he would do if he was, a real human trying to blend in. And she may not have a particularly exhaustive technological knowledge. She wouldn't know exactly what it is that a computing company would be doing, like a very specific detail. So she can only come up with very generic things that she would do. And that's why nobody can really explain what it is that they do to a technical level. That was the main impression I was getting. It made sense that she would be just trying to like conjure up some bullshit about IT and computers. But I don't know. What about you? Do you think that's a particularly possible explanation?
Well, I think she's definitely controlling him because, like, we fast forward near the end of the episode where they're at the dinner table and the boss starts to choke, and he's on the ground, dying, and nobody panics. So you've got Elizabeth Olsen there, and it looks like she kind of was pissed off by him. Maybe she caused him to choke. Then you have the boss's wife, who doesn't like cry, doesn't get up to help him, just is there laughing with a big smile on her face. It's like, oh, stop it, oh, stop it. And to me, that's like she was talking to Wanda. Stop it, help me. Because it was like she was crying underneath her
it was
smile.
like she wanted to, she was begging for her husband's life, but she's not allowed to show any sadness. And like, there's a rule that she has to be happy the entire time because she's like laughing hysterically at the fact that her husband's dying right in front of her.
And we could see that from numerous characters in the first 2 episodes, which was freaky and weird. But then you have Vision, who just looks at Wanda and is like, Wanda, and then it's like Wanda snaps out of what she's doing. It's like, Vision, save him. And Vision doesn't get up until Wanda tells him. Tells her to. So it looks like that she's the one controlling what everybody does, and especially Vision, because Vision, we know, is dead and he's not really real, but he's still able to save the guy. So that to me shows that maybe Vision is around, he's nearby Wanda, his body is or something like that, but she is manifesting him into this world that she's created. And it's pretty weird how numerous people look like for a second they realize that they're being manipulated or they're in some false reality, but then they have to snap back into this role that they're playing. And so it's like somebody's controlling it all. It's like KC said last night on our show, he goes, it's like the Truman Show. Somebody is watching it.
Massive Truman Show vibes for sure.
And as manifesting everything that's going on. So it's pretty weird and pretty cool, but I think Vision's body will pop up somewhere.
And I mean, it's just, I think that's obviously one of the main contributions to, or contributors to, why things are so weird, knowing he is dead. And like, but it kind of feels like there are times when, it might just be the vibe I'm getting from his performance, that he kind of feels like he knows he's dead, and he's just knows that he's in this prison-like world that Wanda has created. And the best example of that to me was, as you say, the bit when he's just watching Wanda and he's just staring at her, like not doing anything until she says it. Obviously there's the obvious explanation that she is just controlling everything and she's just going to do it, but it kind of just seems like he has this level of self-awareness that's kind of peeking through the cracks a little bit of their day-to-day life, because 99% of the time he's a happy husband, and he's comical and he's over the top, but then there are those little glimpses where you just kind of feel like something is off. Maybe he knows something more, but like how, I don't know. It's very, very interesting. And well, I mean, yeah, the other thing I was also having fun doing with that dinner scene was I was working out for the life of me where I had seen Mr. and Mrs. Hart before, and I was just like, I've seen both of these characters before, and I can't remember for the life of me. The only place I could remember Mrs. Hart from was that she was in Friends, and I still haven't looked this up. I can't remember for the life of me where I've seen Mr. Hart from before. I cannot, and I don't know why. It's just I've seen him in something very recently.
Yeah.
It took me like 5 hours to look up, to think about Mrs. I was like, I swear I saw her in like a sitcom before, and like her being like exaggerative and hyper. And then I think it was like this morning.
She was in.
Go on.
Yeah, she was in the 80s show. Do you remember? Is that what it's called? The one with Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis. I think she was in that. She was the 70s show. That was called. Yeah, she was in that. So she has sitcom backgrounds. That definitely helped the show.
Yeah. That definitely contributed to the vibe, because the only place I'd actually seen her was in Friends, and she basically played that character exactly the same as she was in Friends, like this, like always laughing, always kind of positive, always just kind of and hysterical,
Yeah.
So I think that they've been very, very deliberate about casting choices. But yeah, I don't know. It was just one of those things that was on the back of my mind after watching the episodes. It's like, I know them, I really do, but I can't stop watching. I've got to get through.
Yeah, he's done. Just looking at his IMDb here, he has done so many shows, like television shows.
Mm-hmm.
He's been on Law and Order, and he's been on Curb Your Enthusiasm. So he's been on loads of these shows. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So he probably does have backgrounds.
It's probably Brooklyn Nine-Nine I'm thinking of.
He does have backgrounds. And actually, let's see here. He did the voice for Lex Luthor in a Superman video game in 1999. Nice. So he's got some
he's got a bit of gravitas to him, to his performance. Quite intimidating.
I liked him because I was intimidated by him. I was just watching the show. I didn't even work for him, and I was kind of
he fired one of Vision's colleagues just because he didn't have a good welcome pie at his house. Jesus.
Yeah,
but maybe that could be another thing about Wanda controlling the whole thing, is that that's not really a realistic thing that would happen in the workplace. Like you would. I mean, obviously, there's probably someone who would say, well, actually, but like the idea that a boss would fire somebody because they didn't have a positive, like a perfect welcome dinner. They cook like 5 dishes and all that stuff. So maybe that's another thing that Wanda doesn't exactly know, and she's making some mental shortcuts about a working environment like that, because, I mean, at least from what we've seen, she's been, raised in a Hydra lab or whatever her entire life, and, has been controlled by other people. She hasn't really had that normal life. So those kind of gaps in reality where it seems like things are going wrong, you could easily see that as being where she doesn't know what would really happen on a day-to-day basis in, say, a working environment like that. So she's gone, oh, the boss would fire him. Bosses are assholes, Who knows? It'll just be spitballing. I have no idea.
Yeah, like, remember in Civil War, was it that Wanda caused that kind of destruction where it killed loads of people in the buildings, and that's kind of what made the government want to make up an act where they can control superheroes. And so she was kind of a what's the word? She was kind of a liability for the Avengers at the time because of what she did, and so that's why she was kind of being housed up with Vision for a long time as well. But I also thought like it was weird that Catherine Hahn's character Agnes, just the neighbor, they meet after 2 seconds and they're best friends, and she's helping Wanda get dressed and how to plan her night and stuff. And then later on for dinner, she's just coming over and she's giving her food or giving all the food and stuff like that. So it's like she's trying to attach herself to Wanda as much as she can, maybe manipulating Wanda while Wanda is manipulating this reality,
Yeah,
and then she'll
like
probably
this is
try
like
and
kind of like
turn
the
Wanda
Matrix, where
evil.
she's gone in and she is fully aware that they are in this simulation, but
Yeah,
everyone inside it is not aware. There's a construct
yeah,
of her, or maybe everyone is aware that they're in this simulation and everyone's just playing a role.
yeah. So it's cool. Like, are we giving too much credit to Marvel? Is there actually going to be a deeper meaning to all of these episodes, or
Absolutely
are we just going
nothing.
to be left? Yeah, there's no like the end result here is pretty simple or something, and there's
Yeah, it's
no
just a
we don't
normal
want we don't.
sitcom. The entire series, normal sitcom, no consequences. It's just like, oh, the big thing that happens is that the season finale is that Wanda and Vision like actually have a proper wedding ceremony, and that's it. Nothing else.
Yeah, but it. I will give a lot of credit to Marvel, and hopefully they do like all the setups that they have created. There is a conclusion to them, and they actually mean something. And if they can do that, and the last act of this show is pretty interesting and loads of action, then that's cool. That's really well done from them, and it gives me good hope for Loki or what Winter Soldier
Oh yeah.
and Moon Knight and all these shows that are coming. So yeah, hopefully the momentum. Oh, like what I like about the show is we're thinking about the show. We're not thinking about like the dinner or the talent show. We're more or less thinking about all the little Easter eggs and hints that we're getting about what does
Mm-hmm.
this mean? Oh, that means this. Oh, that's the shield logo. That's the sword logo. That's Hydra. So I thought that was pretty engaging. And like, watching the episode a second time, I was looking for Easter eggs and stuff. We also got to see an advert for a toaster created by Stark
Yeah.
Industries. What did you
And we
think of
had
the adverts in the show?
yeah, I thought that was like part of me kind of just had like a Far From Home like flashback moment. I was like, oh god, if they're gonna make like Stark Industries responsible for what's going on in this, I'm gonna like put my head through a wall because I just gotta do something original. But I was like, okay, it's just like an ad halfway through, and then obviously in the episode after they did it again, they had an ad halfway through with the Hydra watch. So it was like, oh, okay, well, this is just going to be like a running gag that we're going to have sitcoms in the style of the time. Not sitcoms, ads
Yeah.
in the style of the time, everyone. But yeah, no, I think that's kind of like just like a fun little aside, and each one's going to be more and more Easter eggs. We'll have like, oh, here's some steel toe caps made out of vibranium or something like that. You'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
whoa, I know what that is. So yeah, that's I think. But then again, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be one of those ones where everything is, Chekhov's gun. Everything is super intentionally placed. That if you finish the show and you go back and you watch all the ads, there's like a little narrative that's coming through the ads. I don't know. I mean, they did
Yeah.
use the same. I think they used the same cast right in both of the ads. Like it was the same dude who was talking about the toaster that was wearing the watch. I think it was the same woman who operated the toaster and who was like, the wife to the guy with the watch, obviously. So who knows? Maybe they're just gonna use the same people
Yeah.
throughout these entire genres, and there's like a mini narrative going through that. But this is what I like. Like I know we're only 2 episodes in, and we might be blowing this out of proportion, but like there is a lot going on that you don't really get from like Marvel movies as such. You kind of get in, get out, you enjoy it or not, up to you. But they tend to be pretty reliable products. I don't think I mean, maybe like Infinity War is the only film where I've kind of come out and like, what are the consequences of this? What does this mean? What does that mean? How is this going to work? How is this going to work? So this is a first for a while, in my opinion. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, like as you said, there's deeper meaning in this show. It seems to be so far. There's like when you see the MCU movies and you watch them for face value, that's cool. But there's no like meaning like a Batman v Superman or a Man of
Yeah.
Steel, or a Watchmen, where you can say, oh, that's the symbolism, where you can make up this Jesus Christ, all that kind of stuff. You don't really see them in Marvel movies. That's okay. You don't have to see them, but in this show, it seems like they are trying a little harder to have that deep underlining plot with
Yeah.
the main plot, and then tell us the actual plot, something that we probably don't even realize what's going to happen. So that is good, and that's different from Marvel, and it's good that they're doing something new, because maybe that they've looked at what they've done over the last 12 years and said, okay, that's worked, that's our formula, but let's try something different. Let's try and bring a new audience, and let's try and shock our audience a little bit, because I definitely wasn't expecting the ending for Infinity War to happen where everyone is dusted away. I was like, what the hell, that was pretty good. I really like that. So yeah, definitely. And with the toaster, there was a red light that was blinking. on the
Mm-hmm.
toaster. I don't know if you caught that, but is that for emergency? Is that for danger? What's that for? Because that was kind of the only bit of color that we seen in that episode. And also in episode 2, we see the helicopter, which is red. We see the woman, she cuts her hand, and we see red again.
Yeah.
And then so red seems to be a big team. Is that for Iron Man? Is that for Wanda? Is it for Vision? Is it for danger? What is it for? But it's good to speculate about it all.
Yeah, you don't really think a toaster should be bleeping red at you several times before the toast
Yeah.
pops up. You just think just pop up or whatever, and that's fine. But like, yeah, so the deeper stuff that they're trying to show, I'm buying into it quite quickly, which I'm very happy with. And I was about to say like my standard for Disney Plus is The Mandalorian, but I kind of feel that that's unfair, like because this is a completely different ball game. If they did maybe another Star Wars show, which I mean we know that they are, then maybe I'd be like, okay, my standard is The Mandalorian for this. I have no real like standard for WandaVision. Expectations were just not there. They were just open mind. Let's see what we get out of it, and I'm pleasantly surprised by the kind of the detail that they're going into it, and I'm constantly trying to find myself like looking in the background for some interesting things, or you're gonna see like in the It films whenever like Pennywise would be controlling someone, you'd see a character in the background that's just staring at the characters in shot or
Yeah.
whatever. Like I'm looking for that. I'm looking for, is there going to be something around me that's going to show a glimpse? But then when you have like a 4:3 aspect ratio, as you said, you're just wholly engaged on these two characters primarily and seeing what they're doing, and all of it is raising so many questions. Like I'm like, why were they in two separate beds at the start, which they obviously then rectify? Why this, why that, why that? So yeah, no, I mean, I'm not complaining by any stretch. It's much more interesting than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and that's good. And then, like the week to week drop of the episodes are going to suit us because we get to talk about week to week what's actually going on. And it would be a cool show to actually binge because there's so much stuff in it. If
Mm-hmm.
you could watch the 9 episodes now, we could talk about uh, whatever it meant, but we might forget some things that we might not
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge, like the toaster with the red light or the
Oh
helicopter.
yeah, you'd forget
Might
all
not talk.
about that. So you'd be like, "Oh, what
Yeah,
about that finale?" But like, yeah, but what about the
yeah,
toaster? Come on, guys.
yeah. That meant this in episode 6. So
Yes.
that's cooler. So yeah, the week to week drop. It's unfortunate because you want to watch them all, but it's also cool because you're actually anticipation for next week to see any more clues. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
the
this.
ending of the episode. Yeah,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
on. Oh, I was just gonna say about the only other the downside. I was just remembering back to when I think season one of The Boys came out all at once, and season two was week by week, and it was
Yeah,
bombarded by people on the reviews who were giving it
yeah,
1 star because they're like, "Why is it weekly?" I'm like, people have become very, very demanding right now. So I'm happy that there's more
yeah,
people who can say, "Guys, chill, one at a time." I appreciate that.
yeah. It's all Netflix's fault. They've spoiled it for the last few years. Here, you want a season? Here you go. Well, here's all 13 episodes. Enjoy. And then everyone forgets about it kind of after a week or so.
Yeah,
Like
that's the problem.
Cobra Kai was Cobra Kai was trending for a week and then it's gone
No,
now.
that's
There's
it.
nobody
Yeah.
really talking about it. But yeah, the end of this episode 1 was the boss kind of was joking, and then he just gets up and says, "Well, we gotta go. Time's up, and
Yeah.
yeah, I want to talk to you about promotion." So like that was strange. He didn't even acknowledge himself joking. Then the episode ends. I think it's at the episode 1. Is it where they put the ring on each other? Is that
Yeah.
episode 1?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So then I suppose we get into episode 2. Then I suppose
Kind of.
unless you want to talk about episode 1.
No, well, I mean, the only other thing was the only weird thing was that bit about there was also no acknowledgement of the fact that Vision literally just inserted his hand into his throat and pulled out the food.
Yeah,
Like it's not only the whole just getting up, right, we're off, whatever. It's, oh, this man just stuck his hand through my like upper chest or like my throat, whatever. Like, okay, nobody was at all like, what the fuck was that? So yeah, I guess it's just more evidence of something ain't quite right, but I'm liking it. I'm digging it.
I'm interested in that because are you giving them extra powers that we didn't know about before? Like, are these powers that they always kind of had? Uh,
I'm trying to think. Like,
cool.
I mean, we've known Wanda to have
Sorry, I
like.
was getting that call.
No, that's fine. We know. Is it Krypton Cage saying stop doing that show? We got to do another one right now.
Yeah,
No, I mean we've seen stuff like uh, going through surfaces. Like we've known Vision to be able to do that, and Wanda like telekinesis and stuff like that. But yeah, just all of a sudden like making things appear like out of thin air is a
yeah,
bit. I mean, I appreciate that because it stops kind of things maybe getting a bit stale, and it it amplifies the problem of them trying to fit in with this society or whatever, because they are filled with all these powers. So yeah, I do think they are kind of just sneaking in little things here and there, but it's not
maybe because it's an illusion. It's
exactly
maybe because it's a different reality. That's why.
If it's all fictitious, it's like, oh, all of a sudden Wanda can turn people into this. So maybe that's a good point. Every single thing is like, oh, maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's the reason. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it'd be interesting to see how far her powers can actually go in this show.
Yeah.
But episode 2 was just a simple enough plot as well. In an effort to fit in, Wanda and Vision perform a magic act in their community talent show. That's just the plot for episode 2. Like, that's just what it was. It was simple.
It was,
and it's the reason they want to do this talent show is because they want to fit in and show the community that they're not weird. Mm-hmm. So if we partake in that community event, people would think, oh, those guys are pretty cool. But then at the start of the episode, you have Vision practicing his act. And like, it's funny because real magic in our world, when we're watching it on a stage, we know it's fake, but the magician makes it look real.
Yeah.
But we know he, some way or another, he's doing something to make it look that way. But then in this, Wanda and Vision actually have magic powers.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make it look like magic, but then they're trying to show the audience, oh, this is how we did it. Because they don't want everyone to realize how powerful they are.
Yeah, like all of a sudden. But then there are certain things that are kind of like, that allude more to the illusion of things being off, when you have things like Vision starts flying and then Wanda all of a sudden makes the rope mechanism appear, and nobody like questions that it literally just appeared before their very eyes. It wasn't like some pull off a cloth and we can see that she's like using this winch or whatever to keep him up there. It's just appeared and no one questions it. So you're just constantly like, okay, what's going on? But overall, yeah, I thought the episode was pretty good. It was, we had our probably a couple of biggest hints as to things being off with the radio. Somebody, have a voice that's yelling, Wanda, like, who's doing this to you? And all that, and they're both staring at, then the radio explodes. I can't remember her name, is it Dottie or whatever? She gets her hand cut, and then all of a sudden she's kind of like not all that phased by it in any way, but the blood is coloured, and then we have the helicopter as well. And I've seen like people throwing around theories that there were PIM particles that have affected this helicopter. I don't really know if I jump into that straight away. I think maybe it could just be like some toy helicopter, but there's a lot of fixation on the logos. There's obviously some deeper significance behind it. But yeah, what was your take on episode 2?
Yeah, so like we get kind of Vision goes to the neighborhood watch kind of gang of guys when they're not really talking about the neighborhood. It's just kind of, they're gossiping more than actually the women were gossiping, which was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's very true.
Wanda goes off. Yeah, Wanda goes off with Agnes, Catherine Hahn's character, to kind of the community organization group, which has its kind of leaders, like the popular girl Dottie, and she wants to be perfect and she wants to control everything. So you had them two. That's what they were basically doing. I like the kind of interaction with Catherine Hahn, kind of making a joke of everything. It's like, I really need a drink for this, when they're just talking about absolute nonsense. It's like she knows this is a show, and she's just in it, but she's just kind of like, okay, I'll play along for now. But as you said, the helicopter, like, I think this community, Westview, I think is being controlled by Wanda, and all these people are being controlled by Wanda. And I think we'll go through each decade, so 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, the town will change, their clothes will change, but the people will never age. So that's what I think is going to happen there.
All right.
And that's a good indication for us to see they're going through these times and somebody is controlling that. But I think that's a helicopter, maybe S.H.I.E.L.D., maybe Hydra, trying to get into this bubble that Wanda has created. And maybe that's a helicopter that she crashed, that she knocked down or crashed into the town. And she looks at it as a helicopter, toy helicopter. But it's red as well, which was the only thing that was red. Then Dottie cut her hand, that was red as well. So what does that exactly mean? Does it mean danger? But I thought it was a funny moment when Vision has chewing gum and he takes it and he swallows it, and his insides get all kind of stuck together and he can't really work the way he wants to. It's like he's drunk. So that was a good comedic moment when he gets to the talent show and he's actually drunk performing the talent, and Wanda has to try and cover up for his magic, which was a good comedic moment.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it kind of it felt like the way that Wanda managed to kind of save everything made it look like that was the intention behind the whole thing. Like Vision would be this clumsy magician who's getting things wrong, and she's the assistant who's saving him and fixing everything and making sure that nobody sees that there's anything wrong. Whether that is a greater metaphor for the entire show, perhaps, like certain cracks start coming through and she has to be the one that's controlling everything and remedying and making sure nobody sees any problems, or she's misdirecting people so that they don't question anything, like the fact that what's her name, was it Geraldine, the woman who gets teleported? Yeah, she gets teleported into the closet. Like, she doesn't really seem to question it that much. She just asks, like, 1 minute I was over there, and then a second later I was here, and then they just passed it off as like, oh, we will never reveal our secrets. But she's like, all right, I literally teleported, but all right. So yeah, there's this.
And it's interesting. With Geraldine as well, as you brought it up, she's going to be in Captain Marvel too. So that's a great connective tissue. So it's interesting that way. So my father's calling me now. There's an effort to doing a stream at home.
Yeah,
but she's going to be in Captain Marvel too. So that's interesting how that connects.
Yeah, that's probably something that like 90% of the people watching wouldn't know, and it probably just maybe that's it for her involvement. Whether she'll be, I'm guessing if there is that, as you say, that connective tissue to Captain Marvel 2, that she will frequent this series as another way of connecting things together. But it is I would say it was definitely, as you said, I think it really embraced the sitcom-y nature of the whole show, and it was a very comedic and over-the-top, exaggerative performance. But it was, in the end, their efforts were vindicated. They were welcomed by Dottie. They got the trophy, and then all of a sudden we get that transformation where everything moves into color, and Wanda is pregnant, and so we're obviously now moving up into the new genres, and we're gonna know, we're gonna see Wanda with kids and stuff like that. And again, that's another one of those things. It's like, okay, well, this whole world is just wish fulfillment. If it's her saying she always wanted kids with Vision or whatever, and she's just giving them to herself, but then it's like, okay, well, now you're getting to the point where you're kind of like manipulating life. Like, this is this is pretty insane, Yeah,
my biggest question is, how does she have children if Vision is dead? And if these children are going to be running around the place, and if there actually are a big arc in Vision's or in Wanda's story going into Doctor Strange, like, how were they created? Like, what happens when she realizes she loses those children if they're not real? Like, that's interesting. Like, the freakiest thing was the talent show was for the children, and there was no children watching
there were
it
no
whatsoever.
children.
So what's going on there, and how does she just suddenly be pregnated? But her and Vision don't question it whatsoever.
Yeah, have we seen any children at all in either episode?
I thought for a second when Vision was backstage and he was drunk, did someone walk by in a costume of a horse or something like that? For a second, I thought.
Yeah, that was the lady that was in the audience that I think Dottie kept getting really snappy with, because I think she was holding it on her lap. I might be wrong, but I think it was her wearing it. But I don't, it's a really good point. I don't think we've actually seen any children, and maybe that is, a metaphor behind her as a character always wanting them, perhaps, and then they're never there. But the idea, I think that's a really cool idea. Is, well, obviously not the idea of losing a child. It's not a cool idea, but like the idea of her creating these children because she wants them that badly, and then the idea of realizing that this is a fictitious world or whatever, and all of a sudden she's like, oh my god, I'm going to lose these kids now, and what ramifications that can have going forward. I think that's like a really interesting thing to be thinking about.
Yeah. What was I going to say as well? So last night we were talking about it on the Renarchy stream, and Sending Ancient, I don't know if he's still here, but he said that the bees, in some movies, like a parent would talk to their child, like the bees and the
birds and the bees.
Saying, the birds and the bees, so talking about sex and how that works and how children are created. And then Wanda and Vision go outside, and there's this guy coming out through the ground in a beekeeper outfit. And then they walk back inside, and she's pregnant. So is that some sort of symbolism between them two? interesting theory. But the beekeeper guy was pretty weird. And then it's like
Yeah.
Wanda goes no, and she reverses everything
Yeah.
back to them being in the house. So that's weird as well. She's now able to manipulate time.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Just give her all the powers.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is another thing to set up as well. The fact that in this world she is supposedly even more powerful than we thought, and then if we get to this point where we're actually in reality and outside of this world that she's created, and she all of a sudden doesn't have these powers to all of a sudden, control time, create life,
Yeah.
and all this stuff. I don't know if there's going to be some kind of, moment of realization. I've lost my child, I've lost these powers, I've lost vision. It kind of feels like there's a setup towards making her a villain, but then it's, well, who's the good guy in this? Is she going to be like an anti-hero? Is she just going to become a full villain, and that's how it ends? And then that's maybe there for a subsequent film where Scarlet Witch is going to be the villain. I don't know. Again, like 90% of the things we talk about here is just spitballing. No idea.
Yeah. But it could be Marvel's version of Dark Phoenix, of the Phoenix storyline from X-Men. Like, because Jean Grey, she's getting more powerful. Her emotions are taking over. She can't control. When she loses people, she gets worse. So this could be Wanda's ascension into madness, per se. And like, what happens when she snaps and she realizes that Vision is still dead and her kids never existed?
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be pretty dark. And how will that change her? And his Catherine Hahn's character, Agnes, is she going to be manipulating Wanda to do what she wants? Or if these kids are real, are these people, if it's Hydra, if it's Sword, are they trying to take her children from her if they are real for their own use? So that's going to be interesting what to do going forward. And of course, this of course ties into Doctor Strange 2, Spider-Man 3. So this is part 1 of a trilogy. I know there's 9 episodes, but this is part 1. Part 2 is Doctor Strange 2, and then Spider-Man 3. So it's going to be interesting, and I think she will be some sort of villain. But what leads her to be a villain is going to be the interesting thing.
Yeah, and I think it's a really original concept to go from having this, character that we all root for and extremely powerful, and then having a whole series that's just dedicated towards her descent into villainy or whatever. It kind of lends more support to the whole you need to watch the shows in order to understand what's going on, because if you just went from, I don't know, Endgame to Doctor Strange 2 and all of a sudden Scarlet Witch is a villain, you're like, what the fuck did I miss? All of a sudden I got a lot of catching up to do. So that would be interesting to see the balance that they try and find there, and saying, okay, we want to make her the villain, but to what extent do we want to do so much stuff that people would be missing out that they watch if they don't watch this? Do we want to go all out on that idea in order to make people watch it more, or are we going to alienate people if they don't watch these shows? I know that I'm not jealous of them in terms of having to balance that, but it, hell yeah, I'm all down for seeing characters, go to different sides. And I think based on the limited stuff that we've seen so far and what we talked about, it's very easy to see how this could be just that like trigger point for her to just snap and go crazy.
Yeah, we've seen big hints from Hydra as well. So what part of Hydra playing in this? Like the advert for the watch was, it had the name of the scientist who created Wanda and our brother Quicksilver as well.
That's it. I was like, I saw like the heavy German name, and I was like, okay, I need to look that up after the show, and completely forgot. So you've helped me there.
Yeah, so he created them too in Age of Ultron or whatever post-credit scene they were in. So that's a nod back to them. But is Hydra trying to re-emerge again? And if it's, maybe their best hope is to have their own superheroes on their own team. So will they try and manipulate Bucky again in that show? Will that link with that? Are they trying to get Wanda's kids? So that's interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, this brings it back to the whole thing. This is like the most intense speculation I've done after watching something Marvel related in a very long time, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's good, and it's good that Marvel are going in this direction, because we can actually like try and predict. And we'll probably be wrong in the back of this episode, and we'll be like, oh yeah, we're completely off there. But it's fun to speculate, and that's not us being stupid. I mean, that's what Marvel wants us to do. They want us to look at all these Easter eggs. One week we might think it's Sword who was manipulating it. So Sword is the new Shield. They might be manipulating everything. Then week 2 we could think, oh no, this is Wanda doing it. Week 3, oh, this is Hydra doing it. So we don't know who the real villain here is. It could be Wanda. Hydra, for all we know, could be the good guys as well. They could be trying to get rid of Wanda because she's too powerful. She's going to kill existence.
Yeah, well, I mean, like it's not like we haven't had previous films go by where we've seen her be underpowered in any way. Like, we know that she is arguably the most powerful out of all the characters. Yeah. So like the ramifications of her becoming evil is like insane. So, you know, we can hope that maybe they just carry on getting weird with it, and, you know, carrying down this transition of making her question sanity and where that ends. Like, it doesn't really seem like a series that's built for more than one. You know, it seems like this is just going to be a one and done type deal with ramifications for other films, as you said, with the trilogy, with Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man 3. So at the very least, it's got to pack like it could potentially be packing a super powerful narrative with, you know, pretty costly implications for the MCU going forward. And I'm like, well, you know, that's what I like. You know, we have a series that has real consequence, and that would be further testament to Marvel just kind of really getting very exaggerative and crazy with Phase 4. If the first thing that they're going to do is turn, you know, the super powerful hero into a villain or into somebody who's, you know, very ambiguous in terms of where they stand. Hell yeah, you know, do it.
Yeah, and is this the birth of the mutants in the MCU as well? It could very well be, you know. And that's interesting because, of course, she's her father is Magneto, wasn't it, in the comics? So I could bring in the X-Men, and that'd be pretty cool as well. But we'll have to wait and see. We know Fantastic Four is coming, so the mutants can't be too far off. But what do you think of the person who's watching this on a TV, on an old TV?
Yes, this is the weird
we got
part.
to see a few times someone is watching the episode. So is this person controlling what happens? Is this person seeing that this is what Wanda's doing to all these people? Like, that's an interesting thing as well. Is this the Truman Show creator?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's where like the biggest Truman Show vibes came from, was like, this feels like somebody, you know, like, I reckon if they maybe kept panning around, you'd see like Wanda unconscious in a lab or something like that, you know, just something. It kind of felt like that was easily set up, but then he's watching it from like what you typically see is like behind the scenes from a news show or something like that. It doesn't feel like a lab where they're monitoring people, you know. So I mean, they're very committed to that television, I don't really know how else to describe it, like television vibe of everything is produced and everything is kind of fake and everything is like a show. So yeah, I mean, it seems interesting, and it was definitely one of those bigger setups from the episodes we've gotten so far to say, you know, hey, you know, some weird shit's going on. But I don't know. What about you? Did you get anything that people may have missed? 10 things you may have missed.
Yeah, well, my theory is that Wanda is controlling everything. She controls the people. Her power is out of control. Sword is trying to understand what exactly is going on here. And that's why they, over the radio, Wanda, who's doing this to you? So they think that maybe it's Hydra doing this to Wanda. Maybe it's some other villains that they're trying to get in there to help Wanda. But maybe we'll find out that it's actually Wanda doing all of this. And then Hydra maybe is using that to manipulate something. Or maybe it's not even Hydra at all. Maybe Hydra are just Easter eggs in this show.
It could be a huge red herring, yeah.
Yeah, it could be Agnes's character. It could be I'm forgetting the character name now, but it's being teased a lot in Loki. This kind of greater villain, like a devil-looking character. So it could be that as well. But I think she has this Westview town under control. I think there's like a bubble under the dome kind of thing where nobody can get in and nobody can get out. And the people that do get in, one that stops them straight away, like the helicopter or the beekeeper. She reverses time. I don't know. It's going to be kind of cool.
Yeah, because it wasn't just him emerging from. It wasn't just him walking down the street. It was him getting in through the sewers. You know, getting through the manhole. Not a conventional way for somebody to be getting in, let alone a beekeeper. So the idea of people invading into this space, you know, uninvited. Definitely, I definitely see that.
And then Geraldine's character, she was able to get in, but she doesn't know why she's there. She doesn't even know her own real name. She doesn't even question any of the stuff that Wanda or Vision do. And we've seen in the trailers that she kind of, I don't know if she kind of is trying to get into the bubble, and she's knocked back by it, or she's knocked out of the bubble, because we see her on the ground in the trailer. So that's going to happen in some of the episodes. So that's interesting too. And also, is it Randall Park? He's in this show as well. I think he was in was it Ant-Man, one of them shows, as a detective working for FBI. So he's going to be in this too. So it sets it up really nicely. In episode 3, there's no even plot for episode 3, so we won't know until we sit down to watch the episode next week. So
yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of that. I avoid as best I can looking at episode titles and descriptions, because just like I don't want to know, So
yeah,
I'm glad that they're not giving us anything. Yeah, they're not doing like any teasers.
I hate watching or reading them as well, because then you kind of have a few idea what's going to happen, and you could see, you have a picture already in your head of what the plot is.
You're like, okay, that bit's done, that bit's done, that bit's done. All right, we can end now.
Yeah. So but I just think basically this town is under her worship, and each decade will go through of the sitcom eras, but they'll never age and they'll never change.
I reckon you're bang on the money with that idea. I reckon nobody is going to age whatsoever, and nobody's going to question it either. Like, nobody's going to go like, everyone will, obviously, as you say, they will adapt though. Like, people will maybe start speaking a little bit more informally. Obviously, their dress code is going to change and all that stuff. So yeah, that'd be interesting, and that's a good test for the cast as well. You got to act through like 6 different generations of TV. So it could be very interesting to see how that changes as well. Definitely.
Yeah, I have a comment from Ali Cultivated. He actually said the characters, thanks very much. It's all very meta. You guys think Mephisto will show up in some twist? I hope he does, though he may show up in Doctor Strange too. That's the character I was talking about, Mephisto. That was referenced in the Loki trailer. You can see it on a kind of a painting of a window. A big speculation that this character is going to be the next villain in the MCU, the overall villain for this arc. So Mephisto is a big possibility. Maybe he has he wants to do with Wanda or her children or something like that. But yeah, Mephisto, I think we'll get a hint towards Mephisto in the coming episodes. And it is very meta, and I like that. It's good. I like those kind of things.
Yeah, and I don't really know we have anything like this whatsoever. But yeah, no, I'm definitely, I'm not at the point where I'm like fully hooked, but I'm intrigued. It's piqued my interest going forward, and I think that will. I'm quite surprised they didn't kind of chuck in a little bit more to keep people like really engaged, like something to suggest things are really weird. But then, at the same point, I kind of like them playing everything a little bit more casual and close to the chest, I guess. I'm basically saying everything at this point, but I thought that there would be something big within the first 2 episodes, because for the general audience who are like, oh, well, there's 2 episodes, I'll give it a go. Something to really go, wow, you're in. But at the same time, I'm not complaining.
The critics got the first 3 episodes. I think a lot of them said in episode 3 is where the pace starts to pick up and you get to understand kind of what exactly was going on. So, yeah, I'm surprised that they gave them the first 3 and only gave us the first 2, even though we're the paying customers and they're not. So, I don't know. It's a bit weird. But we'll have to wait and see. But, yeah, that was basically, I think we covered pretty much everything happened in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, no, nice little compact show, nice little quick discussion, and hopefully we will cover the entire season, and we've got a lot of stuff coming up. I think February is a pretty quiet month in terms of things going on, apart from seeing out the rest of WandaVision. March is where things kind of start getting a bit crazy.
Yeah, February's like where we'll be talking about trailers and stuff, probably, because that's where the marketing is going to kick in for probably Godzilla v. Kong, for Winter Soldier and Falcon, for Zack Snyder's Justice League. So yeah, I suppose we'll have a lot to talk about for the next few months. And March will have a show every day because there's so much stuff.
It'd be like, okay, this is episode 4000 covering just the first hour of the Snyder Cut. Now next week we'll cover Godzilla v. Kong, we promise. But I mean, that's what we like, a lot of content that's readily available. Well, hopefully, I don't want to be going through VPN again to try and watch stuff. It'd be very nice if international release is sorted, but we can only hope. I mean, come on, like, whether you think Zack Snyder's Justice League is a niche or not, Godzilla v. Kong is definitely one of those like mainstream audiences. Like, hey, Godzilla v. Kong, you want to watch this, right? That's you have to have international distribution by then. We can only hope.
Yeah, definitely. And it's gonna it's gonna be a hard ask for us to break down the entire Snyder Cut, 4 hours of Snyder Cut in like an hour or 2 hours on this show.
Hey, it'll be a long one, and hopefully we can have some guests. That'd be very cool.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think that's us for today.
Perfect. We'll thank everybody for watching and liking the video and commenting, and come follow us on the both social medias. That's where you see the nitty gritty stuff that happens in the world of movies on Twitter.
Yep, and
battles happen.
We are here just for the clout. Obviously, we're only doing this for the follows. I've gone up by like X amount, so I'm like, fuck yeah! That's the only reason I do this show.
One more follower and I'll feel complete.
Yeah. And then next week he'll say just 5 more, and then I'll be alright. If you guys could just keep listening and following us, please.
I need my echo chamber to get a little bit bigger. Yeah.
You need at least 10 more people praising you for tweeting the hashtag first, and then you're alright.
Yeah, and then I need to I even had people coming into me and was like saying, why are you talking about Marvel so much? Because I like Marvel.
Yeah, like I mean,
it's like a crime.
Yeah, we have a bias, but that doesn't mean they're like, no, we're not going to talk about Marvel at all. They do big fans, of course we are. There's obviously no running away from it that we wouldn't be at this point if it wasn't from Marvel. That doesn't mean we have some like obligation to worship the ground it walks on, but there are some shows that we want to watch. We're going to watch them, all right?
Yeah. And it's not like we've had constant Marvel stuff for the last year and a half. We haven't. It's been a long time since Spider-Man 2 came out.
Yeah.
And Endgame, because the pandemic came and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're Marvel fans too. We'll address all this stuff on this show because we like talking about it.
But when Zack Snyder's Justice League comes out, we're not talking about Marvel at all. You can fuck off. We'll have a priority set at that point. We there's something very big that we want to be watching in March, so we'll be going for that.
Can't wait. But we'll the WandaVision will tie us over until then.
Yeah, I think it'll do. And then maybe Godzilla v Kong will be that final stretch of like, that'll keep us going. But whatever.
Yeah,
I think we'll be alright.
Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, thank you all for watching, everybody. We'll see you when we see it. If you haven't seen WandaVision already and you've just sat listening to us for the last hour, still go watch it. It's still alright. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.
Farewell.